All right, guys, I'm going to try to go through this as quickly as I can. These tend to be very long videos, so I appreciate you guys hanging on until the end of this. I'm definitely going to give you some of my feedback as far as if you're building a garage gym. I get a lot of questions about what should I buy? Is there things that I should prioritize? And there are answers to that. So we're going to get to that. So I appreciate you hanging on to the end of this video. So first and foremost, I've got a 2-car garage here. It's 500 square feet. And when we built this house, we specifically designed this to be our gym. As you would probably expect, I have an online fitness business, and this is a vital part of my business, being able to film videos like this, being able to shoot content for various things related to programming. So we do a lot here, and this isn't the average setup, and it certainly doesn't need to be, but there is some important lessons that I've learned over the years. This is actually my 3rd garage gym, if you can believe that. We are on our 3rd house, which is saying out loud is kind of funny, but when you go through 1, 2 to 3, and I have videos of all other garage gyms I've had, which you don't have to watch, but they're there and you can see the progression, how I've went from having a lot of stuff everywhere, a lot of clutter, to really whittling down what I feel to be the most necessary things. So everything today is really what I feel to be the most necessary things for me. And of course, for you, you may or may not want to utilize some of these things, but I think there are some staple things that we can really have bridge the gap for almost everyone. All right. So again, 2-car garage gym, 500 square feet. This bay is dedicated just to our gym. I've got Regapel flooring from Rogue. There are a lot of options for flooring, and of course, do your research. This is one that I really like. We use this at our gym that we used to own. It's 100-foot rolls, and I like the speckles. It looks nice. It's clean. It tapes down to the floor, and again, to really professionalize a home gym, you can do that. The other option is you can obviously go with something a lot more inexpensive like horse stall mats, which I've done in previous gyms. But for this gym, we wanted to make it a little bit more professional. So from there, I want to kind of go through some things that you probably are not thinking about, like heat. I live in New Hampshire. It's cold in the winter. The dumbbells, the kettlebells get freezing cold. This is a spider heater. It is from Lowe's or Home Depot. It is worth its weight in gold. If you live in a colder climate, get yourself one of these heaters. It's electric, it's very energy efficient, it's got a thermostat. I turn it on about an hour before I get out here. And I'm telling you, this past winter, we had some very, very cold temperatures on a consistent basis. This makes a huge difference to keep your motivation high. But also, if you don't want to pick up freezing cold implements, this is going to help you do that, okay? So I would highly recommend that. We actually went above and beyond with lighting. Again, not something you need to do, but it does help, again, for videos like this. As far as things that are staples in here, I wanted to do this video in a way that we could go through things that are a priority and then go through things that are less of a priority. So this rack here is a priority. Kettlebells, dumbbells, and then the additional nice thing to have are fat bells. You don't need fat bells, but they are a great thing to have. And I built this collection of fat bells over time. I didn't buy the whole thing at once. Dumbbells, kettlebells. And I would even say kettlebells for me are the most important because I can use them for both strength and conditioning modalities. I use the kettlebells every single week, okay? So when I have transitioned from garage gym 1 to 2 to 3, I have really taken stock in what I use. If I don't use it, it doesn't have a place in this gym, okay? This stuff I use all the time. So huge priority. Dumbbells, mostly from Walmart, believe it or not. This is pre-COVID when shipping was free and you could get dumbbells for $1 a pound. I don't even know what they are now, but dumbbells are definitely one of those things that you certainly should have, and those are things that you can start with and again, build over time. Now, if we go from here to kind of my next priority, for me, it would be conditioning. Probably thought I was gonna say barbells, but conditioning for me is the next priority. All my programs are built on a foundation of aerobic fitness. Now, do you need 3 pieces? Certainly not. If I was going to choose one, I would go with the Rogue Echo Bike. Probably wondering, why not an assault bike? I've had an assault bike and I've had an Echo Bike. This bike is bulletproof. It's belt driven. It doesn't have the same issues that the assault bike has. It's brutal to use. You can use it for steady state work. You can use it for anaerobic work. Best piece of cardio equipment, in my opinion, outside of things like sleds, which we'll get to. But this is the one I would go with. Now, I've had other things in here that I've gotten rid of, like a T-bar row, and I've made more space for more cardio equipment because I prioritize aerobic conditioning in all my programs. So an air runner, skier, again, nice to have. Do you need them? Not necessarily. But if I had to choose between air runner and skier, I would go with a skier. This gets a ton of use. Again, everything in this gym gets used every single week. Nothing in here is extra, okay? So I just want to make that very clear that I use every single thing in here. And I use the air runner every week, I use the ski rig every week, and I use the air bike every week in my conditioning. So this is very, very important. You cannot build a house without a good foundation. That is aerobic conditioning. Okay, so this isn't meant to be about programming, but if you want to know why I take such a high priority in having this stuff and taking up, a fair amount of space, it's because it is so important in my programming. Now from here, barbells. I've got 2 stacks. Believe it or not, I think previous gyms I've had like 4 stacks of barbells, which is definitely way too much, overkill. You don't need that many, but I want to tell you guys the ones that are most important for me at this stage of where I'm at with my own training. The ones that I found to be most useful, just long term. Rhino bar. This is a Rhino Flex bar from Barbell. It oscillates, great bar. I use it for everything from hip thrust to overhead press to obviously the obvious pressing movements, rows. Ton of application here. Nice to have bar, fat bar, axle bar. This bar right here, this Zig Zag bar from Elite FTS, I get the most questions about. This is a phenomenal bar that you can use virtually for anything. Zercher carries, Zercher squats, obviously the pressing floor presses I use it for, bench presses, great barbell. Bamboo bar, this is actually one I don't use as much anymore, but I still have it. It doesn't take up a ton of space, fits on my rack here, so we're gonna keep it. And then from here, my other bars, most beneficial or most application in my gym, this open trap bar from Rep Fitness. I've graduated to various trap bars over the year. This is my favorite because it's open. You can do a lot of different things with it, like single leg work. Gets used all the time. T-grip bar is another neutral bar. Football bar, another neutral bar. Those are staples. Everything else here, with the exception of the barbell, I don't use the safety squat bar as much as I used to, believe it or not. You're probably thinking that's such a great bar. I don't use it as much as I used to. So if I was gonna get rid of any bar here, I'd actually probably get rid of that, which even years ago I would have probably thought was crazy to say, but now this is what gets used. These, football bar, and obviously, just a standard Rogue barbell. And then I've got some other things in here. Viking press, which I do use, a roller, which I do use, but not as much. Again, for the most part, everything gets used in here, but there are some odds and ends that don't get used as much. And they're not taking up a ton of space. That's a question you have to ask yourself. If you have something in your gym that you're not using, what's the reason? I'm not one to hold on to things I don't use. So if I don't use it, I'm probably gonna get rid of it. Safety squat bar is one of those things that I don't use as much, but it's not taking up any space and I've got room for it, so we're gonna keep it. As far as plyo boxes, I got a squat box from Elite FTS, which is multiple heights. I've got a plyo box from Rogue, which is the heavier one, and an AirX pad from Form Better. People always ask, where did you get this blue pad? These are super expensive, but a pad that I use literally for everything. Definitely overly priced for what these pads cost, but that's another story. Plate tree, I've got Elite FTS plates. I'll be honest with you, I don't love these plates. I don't think they're super good quality. I've dropped them a few times and they're already kind of damaged. The writing is coming off. I mainly purchase these because I have credits from Elite FTS for writing columns for them. And I've never used those credits, so I decided, I want to get some plates where it's all uniform. Might as well get them and spend my credits here. And so here we are. But probably not plates I'd recommend, to be completely honest with you. And then the rest are, for the most part, Rogue, and then just some iron plates. So that's really my staple. Now, the centerpiece of this gym is the rack. This is the Lamborghini of racks, in my opinion. This is an RM3 rack, monster rack from Rogue. Knowing what I know now, I don't use the inside of the rack as much as I used to. So much changes as we age with our training. And I'll tell you that I used to use the pins a lot. I used to be in the rack doing box squats, using accommodating resistance. I don't as much as I used to. So the question is would I get this rack again? Quality-wise, it is 10 out of 10. I love the way it looks. I love the hardware on it, but I probably would save some space and not get as big of a rack, believe it or not, which kind of kills me to say, but that's just the truth of it. I don't think I would get this big of a rack again. But I do love this rack, and I waited a while to actually get this rack. It took a while to come to this satin color. Recently, I added a chest supported row piece, which Pritchard pad. Couldn't remember it, but that's the name of it. Pritchard pad. That's a great piece. I actually wasn't sure if I would like this or it'd be worth. It's like $300. Wasn't sure if it'd be worth it. It is definitely worth it. It gets its use every single week in my program. So it's a nice to have thing. You definitely don't need to. You can certainly use the bench. I like the angle of this piece a little bit more. So moving on, I've got 4 of these hangers from Rogue. Miscellaneous stuff, I'm not gonna go through all of it. You guys peek at it. If you have questions, write them in the comments and I'll answer your questions. These are strap loaders from Elite FTS. I use them for chains. Again, miscellaneous stuff on both of them. We'll be here all day if I go through that stuff. If you have questions, just ask. Free motion machine. This is a single stack. I bought it used. I love it. I use it all the time. A variety of different exercises I do with this machine, but it gets used every single week. Weighted vest from 511, 20-pound vest. wolf wedge, which I love for squatting. I've got a rope I hung up. I actually hung this up for my daughter. She does rope climbs, and she's only 7 years old, but she can do rope climbs and pull-ups already, so she enjoys playing with this. Sand dune stepper, again, some miscellaneous med balls. But, you know, for the most part, that is it. As far as the stuff that I use very, very consistently and stuff that I would recommend. Free motion machine, if you can find one used, obviously, you know, grab one, get a good deal on it. Things that are kind of not necessarily things I would start off with, but things that I personally use all the time. Glute ham developer from Rogue. This is the Abrams. I love this thing. It's easy to adjust. Some of these machines are not easy to adjust. This one is very easy to adjust. I use this every single week. Again, bigger piece that you don't necessarily need to get right away, and you might be able to find one of these used on like Facebook Marketplace, but a really, really great piece to have for hamstring development and a lot more. Oblique flexor from Rogue, same deal. I use it all the time for back extensions and, you know, a variety of other things. Nice piece to have. Reverse hyper, I've talked about extensively. This piece will never leave my gym. I will have one of these for the rest of my life. Okay, I use it all the time. Yeah, it's just a phenomenal piece of equipment that has a ton of application, which you can check out in some of my other videos. So that is it, guys. I'm trying to make sure I'm covering everything because I get questions all the time about equipment. I honestly feel like, you know, this video is long overdue. Oh, bench, AB3 bench from Rogue. It is a bench that has a decline. When I don't have the pad, I actually don't use the decline a whole lot. This is another one of those things that I probably wouldn't spend the money on again, mainly because I almost never use the decline. And of course, there are tons of things you can do with it, but I don't use it a whole lot. When I do decline bench, I just elevate the front of the bench with some, you know, PC blocks or a couple of plates, and that's more than enough. So anyways, guys, that's it for the tour today. What I would recommend for you guys that are maybe just starting out is get yourself a wall-mounted rack, something that's foldable. I know Rogue makes one. If you're wondering, should you go with Rogue or someone else? I personally love Rogue. The quality is top-notch. I don't have to wonder whether or not it's good. And of course, you can save money going with other places, but I just feel Rogue is, you're gonna pay for what you get, and that's what I can expect with Rogue. So I would get a wall-mounted rack, something you can fold in, save some space. Most people are not using a full 2-car garage gym. Most people are using maybe just 1 car. Get a foldable rack. Get yourself a couple kettlebells, a couple dumbbells, obviously a barbell. A trap bar is something I recommend for just about everyone. A great way to do hip hinge work. And that bar is actually only slightly under 400 bucks, which for the quality of it, I think is a steal. You can pay that same price for regular trap bars that are not open. And I think the quality is top notch for that bar. So I would get yourself one of those. And really from there, you can just kind of build over time. You don't need to get all this stuff out of the gate. Get yourself a few things just to get started. Once you start training from home, you're gonna realize that what you give up not having access to all the equipment a commercial gym has, you save in both time, money. Of course, you're gonna pay a membership to go to a gym, and that does add up. I know most of them are super cheap, but what you save is just your quality of your workout, no one interrupting you. You can utilize different styles of training, train in different fashions that you wouldn't normally be able to do at a commercial gym. I think is top notch, and I think that's part of the reason that the garage gym community has grown so much over the years. So anyways, guys, I hope that helps. Whatever question you have, drop them in the comments. I'm happy to answer those for you, and we'll see you on the next video.